am here with TJ, right down there, TJ Candy.
Hello.
And then Mr. Jeff is right here, Jeff Kraft. And you guys know Miss Kim. And I'm Pastor Jim. And these guys, oh my goodness, they've been a blessing to me. Yeah. And the kids ministry, wherever they've been. We all work together at the big Vineyard in Cincinnati. Yep. Back, when was that, Kim? It was back in the 80s.
You have to say how long? No. In the
we
90s.
all had more. We all had lots more hair.
And darker hair.
Yes. But these guys helped us so much. And I wanted to ask you guys, I'm having a hard time remembering, like, TJ, were you already working with the kids when we showed up, Miss Kim?
I think I was, yeah. My daughter, Tori, I think I gotta get her age right. She's 33, and she went into the 2-year-old room. And so that's what got us started. It kind of like what we said before, where you need help and you jumped in. And as soon as I jumped in, that was, that was it for me. And then I think you guys came not long after that.
Oh, okay. And then Mr. Jeff, how did you get started?
Yeah, well, when you guys came, I was working actually with teenagers, believe it or not. But when you guys came on the scene, my kids were all elementary or pre-elementary, and I needed to downshift from teen into children. So I one day asked you guys at some outing, hey, you need any help in children's ministry? And the rest is history.
Dangerous question.
You never ask if you need help in kids ministry, man. Yep. It's an automatic, oh yeah. And put your arm around the person and just, so what do you like to do? Mr. Jeff, I just remember he said, would you mind if I went into the 2-year-old room and the nursery and can I sit on the floor and play some songs? And I was like, oh man, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And then that got you started, like doing the story time and stuff with them too, didn't it?
That's what got it started. And, I have to admit that that's where I met Mr. TJ and the aeronautical engineer that had a way with kids that which just blew me away. And I just his love for children and, of course, his wife, Judy, too. And just that first day, I think my first day was in the 2-year-old room. I was shadowing you guys. But yeah, I always loved to play my guitar, and Pastor Jim and Miss Kim really encouraged that in me. And so, so I would bring it into the 2-year-old room, and we had to kind of like scale that down a little bit for 2-year-olds because they're a little scary. Now in the nursery, that didn't always go over so well, but you try. I think I traumatized a few kids in the nursery.
Oh, I have so many stories of kids being traumatized by me. Yeah, that is, I could go on for days with stories like that. But how do you guys remember? I don't know if you remember when we first got there, we had 6 weeks where Kim and I just got to hang out and got to watch what was going on and got to meet with all the people and meet with parents. And were you guys at that first meeting that we had down in the great rooms? Yeah. TJ, were you there?
I remember, I just, my early recollection of when you guys stepped up and just, I was blown away by the quality of what you were doing. And I just remember the songs all of a sudden, because I really didn't play guitar until Jeff encouraged me, the Rhythm King. I'm rhythmically impaired. And then matched that up with you guys' songs. And I just thought this is the way children's ministry should go. I mean, we were doing ministry before, but when I saw what you guys were doing, it was like, hey, this is, I was drawn in, when anytime you guys had, I seen any of your work, I was just drawn into it. And I thought, that's that contagious atmosphere that once the kids get it, the sky's the limit.
Well, one thing that I remember about that meeting was we had done a lot of homework, meeting with a lot of parents and people that were involved. And we had a whole group of people that were helping with preschool that were getting paid to be there. Yeah. And they were, the 6 weeks that we were watching them, I mean, all they did was babysit. There was no ministry going on at all in the preschool side. And so we had like known we were going to have to shift some people around. And so we were asking all the people that were in elementary, because we had a feeling that once they didn't get paid anymore, that they were going to just all vanish.
Yeah, sure.
But we knew we had our bases covered. We also hired, I think Dana took over some of the responsibility of recruiting and putting people in places like where they were going to fit in the schedule. And that first meeting, I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, we have to pray.
Yeah.
We have to pray because we don't know what we're doing. When you're so dependent on God to show up and help you, navigate, because at that point, the Vineyard had 700 kids in the ministry.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
I remember, I can't remember, at one point, I think I was doing 7 a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And because I'm trying to think if you talk about that meeting, I think the first time, long time ago, my first recollections was actually being in, a session that you had led. And I think that, but I don't remember that specific meeting. Maybe I don't know. I might've been there. I've forgotten, but yeah, it definitely, the focus, when I came in, it just seemed like open field running, that you could do whatever ministry came to your mind and heart. Again, I think what you guys brought was a structure that in an atmosphere that resonated with Jeff and I, and I think that's why things took off for us.
Yeah.
I think we need to explain a little bit about the Vineyard. It was fast growth.
Yeah.
It was like a runaway train, just trying to keep up with, and so many people coming in that were new believers.
Yeah.
That were trying to find their way just in life themselves. So that was an exciting thing to be a part of, to walk in, run in.
Yeah. Crush in. Remember the almost gridlock coming in. Yeah.
I remember standing in the hallways directing traffic to get through those 3 hallways. It was so fun. It
was an experiment in how do you package, how do you work with that package you have? Because I remember services getting added all the time. And I remember at one point, I think it was 2 Saturdays, 4, I think, on Sunday morning.
Yep.
And then Sunday night. I think there was one on Sunday night as well. And it was, I always
I'm sorry, TJ.
I was just going to say, when my time came to move on from the ministry, I said I took up something easier like marathons. Physically, yeah. But no.
Well, I just remember that first meeting that we had, and we definitely went into it with a lot of prayer, with a lot of like little meetings with parents and people, and prayer was always a big part of that because we were just out of our realm. I mean, we were hired from being a volunteer up in Cleveland of a church, pretty significant sized church, but really to be hired at the Vineyard, the way I say it is they were dumb enough to hire me and I was naive enough to take the job.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea. Yeah. And it was like Miss Kim said, it was a runaway train. And so we did our homework, and that the first meeting I was like, okay, so all the people that are helping with preschool, you're welcome to come back next week, but you're not going to get paid anymore. I don't know. Looking back, I was like, I probably could have done that a little differently, but it was what we knew. And we were I couldn't figure out like where all this money was coming from to pay for these people being in the rooms. So I knew I could take just a skeleton crew of people with me to do elementary, and all the people that were really doing elementary were asked to help in preschool and, start changing the program and start doing. But man, I tell you what, we had to pray a lot. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, were you guys part of those Tuesday night prayer meetings that we used to have?
Sure.
I was thinking about that. I think so. I again, just trying to tap into those memory banks. I surely remember.
We don't want to tell them how many years ago that was.
It's good to have old friends, but then the other side is they are old friends. Yeah, it is hard to remember. I mean, as Kim says, it was quite a rush. It was a freight train that was going fast and accelerating, and you just hung on, and really led to more of a reliance on prayer, more of a reliance on the Holy Spirit to guide, because you knew you were part of a move that the Holy Spirit was doing. And it was more or less, you're either on the, you're with it and trusting God, or you're not on the train,
Right.
And PJ, real quick, it's just that whole getting started, just to say that that ministry to the little ones is not babysit. I mean, that's what resonated with me. Yeah. I just knew in my heart that we needed to, the kingdom, the kingdom belongs to little children, to the Amen. Church of today, not tomorrow. And I don't care how old they are. And just you guys ushered that in. And that was just, I caught that. And, I wanted my kids to have that a meaningful, age appropriate experience. Right. And you guys just brought in that encouragement and, and maybe we didn't know what we were doing, but then again, by the Lord and tapping into prayer and whatnot, we found our way, right, TJ? I mean, just, I get chills thinking about it still.
Pastor Jim, when you talk about prayer, I think probably one of the most important events that influenced me was very early on. I think Caitlin was my 2-year-old at that time. I had not been in the 2-year-old, I'd been in there long enough. And so you're used to seeing things. And one day this little girl came in, about 3 years old, and she had her arm in a cast. And there's, nothing that brings out the emotion in you. Oh, look at that. And I just, the Lord obviously put this on my heart. And I said, oh, let's have a boo-boo prayer. And I just remember, as I said that, there was this one little boy. And without any prompting, he walked over and started to lay hands on the cast. And I was blown away. So I went over and you know how kids are, if something normalizes, all of a sudden these hands came over, 2 and 3 year olds laying hands on, and we did a boo-boo prayer. And honestly, for the rest of the 18 years or whatever that I did it, that boo-boo prayers was always a big part of what we did.
I think you coined that term, Mr. TJ. That was,
did we? Yeah, boo-boo prayers.
I give you credit for that.
Well, hey, that was that moment. It's well, go ahead.
One of the ladies we talked to last week from the Vineyard West Side, when we were helping plant that church with Tim Armston, she said that there was a 2-year-old. Her mom said, "Oh, I've got such a bad headache," and the little 2-year-old just walked over and put her hand on her and prayed in her 2-year-old little language. Yeah. And all of a sudden, her mom realizes her headache is gone. Wow. And it's just like, I mean, just the faith of a little 2-year-old. I mean, those boo-boo prayers, man, that is so good.
Jeff,
but when we were meeting together on Tuesday nights, and we were helping support each other, we were becoming like a family, because we were always there. Yeah. We were doing we did the 2 Saturday night, we did the 4 Sunday morning. We did the 1 Wednesday night, and then they added the Sunday night. And it was like everybody like who needed lunch that was going to go back to church and do Sunday night came down to our house, and we just all laid around and ate and laughed and like took naps wherever we could find a spot. And because we were becoming a family, we were becoming. And that prayer that we did on Tuesday nights helped solidify that, because we started to realize, man, we're just a bunch of broken people here,
right?
And we all need assistance, and we all need help, and we want the kids to understand that we have a dependence on God. Absolutely. That it's not us. Because we knew a little bit, we knew just enough to get in trouble, really.
Yeah.
But it was that prayer on Tuesday nights that really solidified, I think, in the outings that we used to do. Did you guys ever go bowling or anything with us?
I can't remember. No, I don't think so.
I remember going to your house, because your house was real close to the church,
right down,
like with walking distance. I remember that. And
we're 6 houses down.
Right. Mr. Matt and, Miss Tammy, I can remember spending a lot of time with you guys and with your kids, because my kids kind of, were good friends with your kids at that time. And, especially the boys and Jameson,
I will never forget. It was 8:30 service. Your kids used to be at the 8:30 service,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Oh yeah.
And TJ, were you kids at the early service too?
I'm trying to remember. See, during that stage, recognize Judy and I were actively churning out new kids of our own. So we were our time. It's a blur. I mean, it really is. I was telling Judy the other day that some aspects of that I just don't remember sections of the kids growing up because it was just a wild ride. But
one of the things that I remember distinctly with Jeff's kids was we had this thing called the blacklight story.
Oh yeah.
And so we had these black light bulbs in the ceiling, and we had these little poster board things that we made up, and we put them on sticks, and we turned all the lights off, and every 8:30 when it was time for the blacklight story, I said, okay, we need to turn the lights off. It's time for the blacklight story. I would hear Jeff's kids, David and John, go, yes.
As I told you, John still does that today.
Love it. I love it. So do you remember how so did you guys ever, like, I know you guys were talking about the boo-boo prayers and stuff. So one Wednesday night, I think it was a Wednesday night, I was sitting in a room with, I think it was the 2-year-old room. For some reason we were down there, and we were sitting with all kinds of age group kids. And there was this little blonde, we were asking for prayer, if we could pray for anything. And this little blonde headed girl, she was this pretty little thing, little petite thing, beautiful blonde hair and blue eyes. And I was like, so is there anything we can, I'd never heard her voice before. And I was like, is there anything I could pray for you about? And she just looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, you can pray that, because I saw my dad shoot my mom.
Oh, no.
I was like, and I looked at her older brother and her sister, and they were like shaking their head. So I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I was, oh, okay, we can pray for that. And then later I was asking her brother and sister, I was like, so what's the story there? And they were like, well, it's true. Our dad shot our mom. She survived, but she's heard that story so much, she thinks she was there.
Oh my God.
And it reminded me that these kids, I mean, they look so beautiful and handsome and pretty on the outside, but some of the things that they're going through is amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
And they are being asked to deal with adult problems, really.
Yeah.
At such a young age.
Sure. Yeah. And that was the church to Miss Kim's point. I mean, we were a church that opened our doors to, come as you are, you'll be loved. Don't expect it to stay that way. But, we just had any number of people coming from broken situations and whatnot, and their kids. Yeah. And their kids were a part of that. But what a privilege to be, in a position to try to serve those kids. I
mean, it's messy. But isn't that what the kingdom's supposed to be?
Exactly it.
Right. And PJ, the thing that for me, even doing this years later, is you may only have one chance at a kid. I'm at I'm at the North Star Community Church these days. It's an old vineyard plant, not a vineyard church anymore. It doesn't matter. But I know that I see kids one time, and I may have one chance to just try to pray for them or to pay attention to them, and that may be the only chance you'll ever get, and you don't know what a difference that makes in eternity. That's for the Lord. It's not to our glory.
Yeah, I know there's many times I could probably fill an hour with stories of things that I've seen, but there was a couple, to your point, Jim. I mean, these kids are going through things that we can't imagine. One day it was Father's Day, and so we were coloring pictures for this. 2 years old. Coloring was part of the thing this day for our fathers, and this one little boy just sat there stone-faced and come on, dude, you want to? He just looks up and goes, "Rick is not my father," and he wasn't going to do anything for that, but it was more like it was just that realization, that these kids.
So true, TJ, so true.
And I think I want to point out one thing too, Jeff, that you said that, you know, some of these things we heard and said echoes in my mind was that, you know, we said, you know, these are 2- and 3-year-olds and 4 and 5 that you worked with, but they're fully fledged prayer warriors. They're fully fledged members of the kingdom of God, and what they see, and you know, to the point of sometimes we had I remember one boy that, you know, he didn't come back. I would take a couple weeks off in the summer, and I came back and he had passed. And that was kind of humbling, because you recognize you were the only Sunday school teacher that he had. And then, grounds.
That's true. It's very, very true.
What awesome years those were.
What's that? Oh, yes.
What awesome years those were for us. We hold them very close to us and such precious memories. And you guys were a part of that.
Yeah.
So
hey, God allowed it. I mean, I think the greatest thing, Jeff and I have said it over and over again over the many years, was that, you know, God is in control. This is about what he's doing. Hopefully we get out of the way. And that I always thought that, you know, we're speakers up in front, but you're plugged in, right? The best, you're plugged into the right source, and you're really Jesus to them. I mean, I remember, I don't want to take up too much time, but there was one story towards the end of my time in the children's ministry, and a parent came to tell me how their child would set up pretending he was Mr. TJ singing, and he couldn't wait for Sunday. And I said, my 3-year-old cannot wait. Is it Sunday yet? Is it Sunday yet? And as she's talking to me, I was standing out in the hallway, and it was almost like I heard the Lord say, "It's not you, you know." And I remember feeling such a joy. And I said, "That's right." He said, "I can give to you, but I can give to anybody standing in this hallway what I've given to you." And I felt such a joy about that, because it was such the truth. Everything that you do and say it isn't TJ that they hear. TJ talks, but they hear Jesus. And that's what they connect with. That's what brings them back again and again. And what a privilege, as Jeff said, that we got, us unworthy people, that the creator of the universe used us to change lives. And it's most humbling thing. Amazing.
Awesome, TJ. Well, that's so good. So amazing. I agree. You know, it's like we're the little boy who brings Jesus his lunch.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing to see what God does with it.
Yeah.
But it's our job just to give him what we have.
Absolutely.
And I know you guys have done that over and over again. And we are so thankful for people like you. But one last thing, I wanted to have you encourage people who, you know, might be on the outside of kids ministry. Just, you know, encourage somebody how they can make a difference, especially when they can pray. You know, you don't even have to be in a room with the kids, but you can pray for the ministry. You can pray for the people that are doing it. So just one last word of encouragement for people.
Well, Jeff, I've spoken a lot. Why don't we'll let you go first.
Yeah, Jeff.
You know, I don't know. The one thing that oh my gosh, you know, just, you know, as an adult, before I got into children's ministry, I wanted to be the worship leader at a church plant of the Vineyard. And I failed miserably at that. And come to find out through the encouragement of PJ and Miss Kim that I really was a Sunday worship leader. Absolutely. It just happened to be with 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. And so I guess my point is that, you know, just the richness, there's a place for everybody in children's ministry, to PJ's point. You know, you can't do any nobler purpose than to serve a child. So I got a chance to play my guitar. And you know what, if I busted a string or I forgot the words, you know what, the kids could care less. And, that's right. You know, and so children's ministry is a place where you can just, the Lord can just do his stuff through you. So,
and you taught this one. Remember, you got me playing guitar.
And you are not rhythm impaired, Mike.
So one last story to go away on. So I don't know if you guys remember, an older gentleman, we had gone into, I think, big church, and we were needing some people to come around to the different rooms and tell stories. And his name was Dell, and he was 80 years old. 80 years old. He had never done kids ministry. And he saw the puppet and thought it was funny. And then he said, he'll be a storyteller. Well, he went in, at that point we were making books for the guys to go around and sit in a rocking chair and read to the kids. And Grandpa Dell, start calling him Grandpa Dell.
I remember.
And he was getting more from the kid. He told me later, he's like, I get more from the kids than I give them. Yeah. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
And he had to go into the hospital for some sort of surgery or something. And the kids were like, where's Grandpa Dell? And we were like, he had to go to the hospital. Can we make him a card? And they started making him cards and they were all signing it. And I don't think it was me. I think it was somebody else that took it to him. And he started crying because he did not realize the impact that he was having on these kids just by showing up and telling a story, and that's what we all try to do. We just show up and tell a story.
Just be available.
That's right. Any last words, guys? Miss Kim?
Just
love you guys.
Love
Your
you too.
families have been very precious in our lives. So thank you.
We love you guys. Just may the Lord just empower you to keep loving on the kids. And
yeah, thank you for encouraging us too.
Absolutely.
We feel like we're kids that picked up all these things from you. And I've always said, for the people that even are thinking about ever getting into the ministry, I keep dreaming about writing this thing is what I learned from 2 and 3 year olds.
You should do that.
Yeah,
you should, man.
But what it took 2 year olds 18 years to teach me. For anybody that's thinking about getting into children's ministry, just take the step and let the Lord lead.
Start doing that, buddy, and I'll help you with that, man. I'll chime you in.
And you could have a whole chapter on boo-boo prayers.
Absolutely.
You could have a kid's book just on boo-boo prayers.
Yeah.
That's very, very true. Very, very true.
That's privilege.
Well, appreciate you guys. Love you.
Love you guys too. Thanks so much.